Welcome back to Autism at Home, brought to you by us at Early Autism Project Malaysia through our non-profit initiative, The Hope Project. My name is Jochebet Isaacs, and it's so nice to see you again. This is our 16th Autism at Home series entitled A Daily Guide. And in our last lesson, we discussed children from the ages of 18 months to 3 years old. And for this lesson, we will be specifically speaking about children who are from the ages of 3 to about 5 years old, and then as they eventually prepare for school as well. Now, in typically developing children, there's usually a flooding of language here, and so therapy really does need to be very intentional and structured, similar to what we spoke about for 18 months to 3 years old. But the main difference is that by this age, the therapy hours become extremely important at this age, and the targets will be very intentional as well, with sessions looking a lot more structured than the previous age group. Well, I hope you have been following this series and have already downloaded the CDC Milestone Tracker app, which should help you identify some of the delays. The full list is also on our Autism at Home website, but just to give you a quick idea, here is what typical development roughly looks like. Between 3 to 4 years old, they paw, cut with supervision, and mash their own food. They're more and more creative with make-believe play. They talk about what they like and what they're interested in. They can even give a connected account of recent events, maybe ask endless questions, use language to bargain and negotiate, use social terms such as please and thank you. Able to name some colors and numbers, remember parts of a story, and start to even copy some capital letters. By 5, children can use the toilet on their own, stand on one foot for 10 seconds or longer. They want to please friends, they want to be more like friends. They might be more likely to agree with rules and show more independence. They may visit a neighbor next door, of course with adult supervision, tell a simple story using full sentences, count 10 or more things, and may even try to draw a person with at least 6 body parts. We can really see how rapid the development has suddenly become. It is as though the first few years of life, a child is absorbing everything and then starts to burst through by 2 to 3 years old and suddenly able to converse in full sentences by the age of 5, not to mention demanding to be more and more independent as well. Now, if your child is not meeting those milestones and demonstrating some delays, again, we would strongly encourage you to seek professional support, as this is part of the key window of opportunity to help your child catch up in these precious years. Beyond this phase of life, it can be very difficult to narrow or close the gap. But of course, every child can certainly continue to learn at their own pace. Now, only in the event that you are truly not able to receive any services due to location or funding, then we would strongly recommend that you become the therapist yourself in order to give your child the structured, intentional learning they need. The key priorities continue to be foundational targets. Please do go over the building blocks, and I mean we have about 15 previous series, and the main key foundational skills of cooperation, attention, and imitation have all been covered in the past already. So we would encourage you to be using those concepts of first then, foreshadowing, finish box, follow through, following a schedule throughout your day. Please don't forget reinforcement, as that is still the core of motivating your child to learn. Next is the area of language development. We hope to be releasing a paid series soon that will help to break down the lessons of language development. But for now, you can certainly refer to our Starter Kit series on speech that is very relevant and important, and we would encourage all families to prioritize at least 20 opportunities to speak through requesting and phrase completion programs in the morning, 20 in the afternoon, and 20 in the evening before bed, giving a total of 60 opportunities in one day. Next, building independence in daily living skills. Some children may have already learned some of this before 3, but typically things like learning to wash their hands, brush their teeth, toileting, help with some parts of showering and changing themselves, as well as tidying up after themselves. Play and social skills. This can be quite a big area as well, but essentially learning to play, learning age-appropriate games and expected social skills, and hopefully with regular weekly play dates in order to practice and build up these skills. Then, of course, pre-academic preparation. We will be releasing another paid series on pre-academic skills, hopefully towards the end of the year. But for now, exposing your child to regular book time, arts and crafts, and of course, gradually increasing the ability to sit at the table and focus, especially in comparison to the younger age groups in the last 2 lessons, which were much more following their lead and generally floor time. So, what will a typical day look like for this age group? As mentioned earlier, the structure for this phase will certainly be much more intentional, and ideally a weekly schedule such as the following would be recommended. 7 a.m. a morning routine, 8 breakfast, 9 is your first learning time, or for some, they will eventually transition to preschool. Then about 12 in the afternoon, a lunchtime routine. Some may still need a nap, so after lunch, maybe 1 p.m. nap time. 2 p.m. is your next learning block from 2 to 5 p.m. before they go for some outdoor playtime, complete with their shower routine, their mealtime, nighttime routine, and bedtime. Then, as for the weekends, you can always work around a similar routine with the meal times, but just replace the learning times with maybe a morning activity and an afternoon activity, which again could range from play dates, community trips, birthday parties, going to church, and the list goes on. Now, similar to the previous lessons in this series, every moment is an opportunity to teach. We would still recommend follow-through of goals throughout the daily routine. For example, cooperation is a goal throughout the day, and utilizing the schedule, concepts like first then, foreshadowing transitions, and following through should be strategies that are implemented throughout the day. Then in the area of language, communicating to your child using visuals and simple phrases, as well as giving your child as many opportunities to practice requesting or phrase completion. Remember, at least 20 in the morning, 20 in the afternoon, 20 at night, giving a total of 60 practices. Then in the area of independence, getting your child to do as many tasks independently as possible. Again, this could utilize visuals such as a brushing teeth routine, toileting visuals to help teach your child to be independent in these areas. Then in the area of structured sessions, we typically run a 3-hour block, but in shorter sessions at first, starting with 20-minute session, then 10 minutes break, then building up to 30-minute session, then 10 minutes break, and finally a 45-minute session with a 15-minute break. To be honest, there's no magic in any of these numbers, just that we're ensuring we have a structured block of time that is focused on teaching, but also maintaining new skills. Now, during each of these sessions, a classic therapy session would be table times and play times. And each table time would practice a target in your child's current priority list. A child would do the task, and that in itself needs to be explained in way further detail. But essentially, a child does the task and then gets the rewards, and then gets to go play. Initially, table times are very short, ranging from 2 to 3 minutes, and in some cases even shorter than that when a child has very minimal attention. Then as children get more focused and also it's much more age appropriate, a child could start to learn to sit and focus for up to even 10 minutes. We also have targets for those play times, targeting specific skills such as toy play, interactive play, songs, circle time, independent play, and the list goes on. We also take the task off the table time and start to generalize them during playtime as well. Also, it will be great if some of the weekly structured sessions could include peer plays and community trips, and even just fun outings, which will give your child the opportunity to generalize their skills but still be motivating. Now, speaking of motivation, we do need to ensure that not only their rewards are motivating, but also their playtimes as well as their program itself. If the program or task is just way too challenging, any child will get demotivated. So remember to break it down and provide sufficient practice till you know that your child really has retained that skill. Now, some of the materials you will need include visuals. I know this may sound a bit repetitive, but you really should have a kit by now. Daily schedules, weekly schedules, communication boards, routines, visual rules, social stories, video models. You know the drill. Additionally, lots of teaching materials which will be program specific. So you will need to go back to the different programs you're focused on and purchase or print those materials out. And of course, age-appropriate toys, games, and reinforcements.
Pop quiz. Which of the following is generally harder for a child with autism to learn at? Table time? Playtime? The answer in general, there are certainly exceptions to the norm, but in general, table times are easier to learn as it is more structured and there's hopefully a strong reinforcement system, whereas playtimes can be a bit unstructured and a child may not have mastered the skill of being cooperative and focused on the floor versus the table. Which of the following is generally harder for a child with autism to learn at? In the therapy room? Outside the therapy room? Again, in general, it would be harder outside the therapy room, as with the last question, the skills learned at the table or in the therapy room may not be generalized yet outside the room, and what more, in a more unstructured setting as well as with many other people. Which of the following is generally harder for a child with autism to learn from? Incidental teaching, which is natural setting, intentional teaching, structured setting. Well, yes, you're right again. Incidental teaching can be more difficult to learn as a child with autism may be focused on many other things. However, in a more structured setting, it is generally easier for a child with autism to learn. Although we do need to clarify that this does not mean that the only way a child with autism can learn is in a very structured setting, in a therapy room at the table, but rather that may be the initial starting point of learning, only to be generalized to way more natural settings and with many other people as well.
Now it's your turn. Firstly, identify if your 3 to 5-year-old is meeting the developmental milestones for their age. And if there is a delay, do you know how much exactly is the delay? Next, start at your child's current developmental level. This may mean that you may need to start with targets that are for a younger child. For example, if your child is demonstrating skills of about 18 months to 2 years old. Then, identify key priorities and how you're going to incorporate it incidentally throughout the day, but also how you're going to implement it intentionally during your child's daily learning times. Well, there you have it. That brings us to the end of Lesson 4 of this Daily Guide series. We hope it has been helpful and making sense, and again, please don't hesitate to contact us. We have actually recently started providing online services for parent training, and you just need to scan the QR code here and contact us if you would like further support. Well, our next lesson will be on the age group of 5 to 7, around there, specifically focusing on preparing for school. If you haven't already, do check out our free online resource platform, Autism at Home, which has all the corresponding articles and downloadables for you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.